Hi everyone, welcome. I'm Liesl from Jigx, and today I'm going to take you through what's new in our latest release, which is 23.12. This release is rich with new functionality. We've got two new components to show you today. We've improved our icon set, and we have applied row level security to dynamic data. To demonstrate the new features, I've created one solution with two jigs, and in this I'm going to show you each of the new features. So going into our first jig, you will see that we start with the countdown component at the top. As soon as the component or the countdown expires, it will take us to a new jig, which will show us the location of the lodge we're going to. Then we have the progress bar. And here we have set it up dynamically to show our progress with packing. We have our packing list, in which I have shown you some of the new icons. There we go. We've directed to our next jig, which shows us how to get to the lodge. Let's just go back and have a look at our packing list. So now our packing list, as we go and select the items that we've packed in our bag, you'll see the progress bar starts to update with the progress that we've made. As soon as we hit our last one, which is our sunscreen, you will see that the error text changes to helper text, which now says, great, you're all packed and you're ready to go on holiday. So in this, you've seen both the countdown, the progress bar that is updated dynamically with helper text and error text, and then new icons. Let's hop over to Visual Studio where I can show you how we've configured this. In Visual Studio, jump to our jig. We're going to scroll down to the children's section. This is where components live. First component up is the countdown with the important property of expires at. Here you can set the property using a data source, an expression, or a string. You can set it in date, time, or time. I have used an expression to count down 30 seconds. When it expires, I've called the on finish, and there we just literally go to another jig. Looking at that jig quick, it's a document jig that calls a URL. Next component up is the progress bar. Here I have set the progress bar to dynamically update based off what is selected in our packing list. Once again, if you add steps, the property steps, you can choose how many steps must show or how many little bars must show in the progress bar. I've read this dynamically from the data source. There are 5 items in the data source, so I have 5 bars showing in my progress bar. If you want a continuous progress bar, just leave steps out and it will update with one continuous line. Size of the progress bar, you can determine different ones using IntelliSense and select the one that you want. The error text, here I have used an expression just to see how many have been selected. If it's not 5, it says get packing in the error text, and then if it does equal 5, the helper text will now show all packed and ready to go. Color, this is where you can select the color from our existing color palette. Title is whatever title you want to give your progress bar. Here you can also set various properties like aligning center, left, or right to show the title. Within the packing list, I'm not going to show you anything here. There's nothing special. The only thing to call out is that I have put a state in, obviously, which helps with the dynamic reading of the progress bar. Looking at our data source, at a static data source, here I've just listed the various items to pack. If I look at the icon, is what I wanted to show you. Wherever you can set an icon now, our list has increased to thousands of icons. Simply start typing the first 2 letters of an icon you want. Now you'll see that you have a vast list, and not only that, you also get a preview of what you're actually wanting to select or what you want your icon to look like. I'm going to keep it as binoculars. Added to that if we go over to our index, you'll see that we have assets and we have icons now. We auto-generate the icons you use in your Jigx. This helps when a mobile device is offline, the icons can still render. You can go add your own icons in here if they are not listed. So for example, let's say I want to use bin. Right, we looked at components and icons. Let's look at row level security. Going into our second jig, you'll notice that this jig is a little bit different. The countdown is configured with days, hours, minutes, and seconds. The progress bar has more than 5 bars. It is also a different color in that it's green. Looking at the packing list, if we scroll down, you'll notice we have more than 5 items, and we have items like passport, visa, eSIM card. Now, if I log out and I'm going to log in as a different user to show you that as a different user, I am going to see a different list based on my rights. Logging on as my second user, I get to see the same home hub. Going into my second jig again, I still have the countdowns the same. I notice that my progress bar has less steps in it, and when I look at my packing list, I have a short list. Notice that passport is missing, eSIM and visa is missing. How is this possible that I can see the same jig but with different criteria? Well, I've applied row level security to my data in dynamic data in Jigx management. Let's go have a look how this has been set up and how we've achieved this. Right, here we are in Jigx management. I have gone to my solution, which is World Travel Safari. I've gone to my data, and here you can see here's my packing list. So this time I have a dynamic packing list versus a static packing list. And there are 2 new features here that make up row level security. First of all, you will see the data policies. Data policies is where you can set where people can create, read, update, or delete data within dynamic data. And here you can select anything from custom, allow everyone, or deny all. I've gone ahead and I have created a custom on the read, which is allowed, and in there you will see that I have allowed members, and we'll go look at who members are in a minute. Next, on my actual data, right, within the data packing list, you'll see I have the eSIM, I have walking shoes, I have the visa that we spoke about, and the passport, and the plug, the smart plug, which is different for our international users to local users. So if I click on this, you will notice that we now have authorized users, and within here you can go and set up owners and members. Members, you can have a user or a group. I've created an international group and a local group, and each row you will notice is given authorized users as international or local, and that is what is going to determine what I can actually see within the app. So there we go. Passport is also set to authorized as an international user, and it's that simple. So I haven't made any changes to Visual Studio. If we hop back into Visual Studio, let's see if we can quickly, there we go. If I show you the Safari DD, the only difference here is that I now have my packing list as a dynamic data. I also, you will see, have specified the countdown as a date versus a time or as an expression. And then you will see that as simply for the countdown, I've used a data source for the timing, and within the component progress bar, there is no difference. It stays exactly the same, and the list stays exactly the same. So the difference comes in is that I've applied row level security, and with doing that, I have defined according to each row who may see that data and who can't see that data. You might be thinking that I could have used a where clause in the data source to see the relevant data in the app instead of configuring RLS. However, using RLS ensures that only information that you are authorized to see is synced to the device, as well as being visible through the API and even in management. A great example is data that is sensitive. And in my Safari example, this could be something like your passport number or credit card information. You do not want sensitive information synced to other people's devices, and this is where RLS is great. So looking at the app, I added additional sensitive information in another table called guests. And you will see that in the app, I have an avatar showing my name as well as John and Jane. So I have no RLS set up here. And if I go in here, you will see I can see John, Jane, and Liesel, and they're all going to Africa. And if I have a look, I can see each one of their details. And yes, this is dummy information that I've just added here, but still, this kind of information you don't want everybody to be able to see. So how do we go about setting RLS up to just show me my information, which would mean that I would only want to see Liesel? So I'm going to keep my solution exactly the same. I'm not going to change anything in Visual Studio. I'm going to go straight into management and I'm going to change it here. You'll see I have my guests. I have Liesel, John, and Jane. So first of all, I only want Liesel to be able to see Liesel's information. So let's have a look at what the authorized user looks like. So, okay, I am the authorized user on my own account, which is great. I don't want to change that. I'm going to leave that as is. Let's have a look at John. I don't want myself to be the user on here, so I'm going to take myself off and I'm going to add somebody else. So for now, I'm going to add Chanel just for this example. All right, and Jane, I also, Chanel is on there, so I should not be able to see their details. But added to this, I will need to go and just set up my data policies and make sure that under read, as currently it says everyone can read, and I don't want that. I only want the owners to be able to read. So I'm going to change this to owners and I'm going to save this. And there we go. So now you'll see instantly my app has changed and I can only see my data. I have not changed anything in the YAML in Jigx Builder. I have not changed anything but set up RLS. And now I can only see my sensitive data. I can even go back and see that I now can only see my name, Liesel. Going back in, I can only see my. Added to this, if I go and have a look in management now as Liesel, and I go back to the data and go back to guests, you will see I can only see my record. So here you can see RLS is a great feature to be able to create that security around your data in dynamic data. So you're able to only see your data in management via the API or on your app. You're able to only allow authorized users to be able to see sensitive information.